You are Locked On Wizards, your daily Washington Wizards podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
What is going on, guys? Today we have a special episode of Locked On Wizards where you got your boy Ed, D, and our special guest Neil Dalal, a Wizards reporter for Hoop District. I know a lot of Wizards fans. You know all about Hoop Districts. You know about Neil. I'm pretty sure you guys all follow him. Welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, most definitely. Thanks for having me.
For sure. Today, this episode is brought to you by Truebill. Truebill is the new app that saves you money by helping you identify and stop paying for the subscriptions you don't want or need, and can even negotiate better deals on those you want to keep. Guys, I do want to thank you as well for making Locked On Wizards your first listen each and every day. We are free and available on all platforms. So, as usual, we got a couple questions for Neil. Ed, let's get right into it.
Yeah, we just want to get your main takeaways from the game last night against the Timberwolves. And would you give a grade to the team on a West Coast road trip? Or how did you feel? Did you learn anything from Wizards on how they put on that West Coast road trip?
Yeah, so, definitely that Wizards win over the Timberwolves was much needed. They came off the road trip kind of so-so, 2-2. You can't complain about a 4-game road trip, their longest, stretch of the year so far. But, Bradley Beal said it, they very easily could have been 4-0 if they can beat, a down Pelicans team, a down Spurs team. They could very easily been 4-0 and, maybe should have been 4-0. So that Timberwolves win was, much needed. This isn't, the Timberwolves of years past that, most teams have been able to just walk over. They're playing pretty good basketball under Chris Finch. They're pretty healthy for the most part. Finally have D'Angelo Russell, Anthony Edwards, and of course, Karl Anthony Towns together. So it's good to see the Wizards, come back. They were, down for a good part of the second half. But, their fourth quarter was able to take over again.
Definitely. Trez's 10 dunks were a huge part of that win, too.
Well, yeah, Minnesota had absolutely no answer for him whatsoever. After he had the last dunk against Anthony Edwards, he was, yelling at the crowd, "That's not enough. They got to bring more help." I thought that was hilarious. Great personality.
Right.
Yeah, and man, I thought the Wizards had a great bounce back game against the Timberwolves, especially coming off that Spurs game where the paint defense was non-existent. I mean, the Spurs were giving whatever they wanted down low. I mean, tons of floaters. Thaddeus Young, I mean, he was giving Montrez the business in that game when he came in. I mean, it was tough. So it was great to get a nice bounce back win against the Timberwolves for sure at home, 8-2, I believe, at home this season. Only thing I say is they gotta do it on the road too, man. They gotta do it on the road. That's how you really want to be a good team. Take that energy you have at home and bring it on the road. But Neil, I did see you tweet today. You had an update about Rui Hachimura. So I did have a question about you for you about his timetable for return, just you being around the team and the situation. What's your take on it? And how do you see him and Thomas Bryant fitting into the rotation when they come back?
Yeah, I know, probably a lot of Wizards fans are frustrated about the very incremental and slow progression that Rui has had, since he's returned. He's been back, in the country and, in DC for a couple months now. I want to say it was, towards the end of training camp that, he officially returned. Wasn't necessarily around the team. But he's doing more, bit and more each every day. He's still not doing contact, which to me is the biggest indicator that, he's still multiple weeks away. But he's finally around the team more. He was sitting on the Wizards bench for the first time yesterday against the Timberwolves. It's a small thing, but it's better than nothing, right? He's been away from the team for so long, probably dealing with a lot of, personal issues and personal things that, post-Olympics, the stress was probably way too much for him, way too much for any, guy in his young 20s like that. But I think he'll be around, even more around the team. He's picking up the terminology, picking up the lingo, which is hopefully going to help make the transition, a little bit that much smoother. But until he can do, contact 1v1 versus coaches, 2v2 versus coaches, the Wizards don't practice much. He's not going to have an opportunity to go 5v5 live scrimmaging against NBA quality players, that often. How many of those does he need before they feel comfortable throwing him out onto the floor? It's probably not going to be as a starter. It's probably going to be off the bench and, very small spurts, 10, 15 minutes maybe. he can go play with the go-go, but again, that's still a much different animal. So I would think he's looking at least 2-3 weeks before we even hear rumblings of him playing in an NBA game.
Yeah, that's interesting. And to talk about just Thomas Bryant really quickly, I know he's been recovering, and how has he looked in on the court and just his rehab process that you've seen?
Yeah, I think Thomas Bryant, very energetic guy. He's, chomping at the bit to get back out there. I think it's very plausible that we could see him playing an NBA game this month before the end of the calendar year. He's looked really good in all of his training and all of his recovery, that he does both away from the Wizards, before they reported for training camp, and now what he's able to do with them now. He's looking pretty spry out there. He's done some sprints that people have seen and, doing cutting and stuff. One time I saw in a funny game, Chase Hughes pointed it out to me, when Thomas is running out of the tunnel and getting to the court, he was weaving his way through fans that were in his way. I was like, I guess he has his cutting ability back. So he's, chomping at the bit. I saw him at the Thanksgiving event that the Wizards and Monumental Basketball put on. He's always very excited, energetic guy. So it'll be good, hopefully, to see him, maybe, who knows, he might be back on the floor before Rui is.
Yeah, and how do you see Thomas Bryant fitting in? Because Gaff has played so well. I mean, he's had 3 double-doubles in a row, Trez, 10 dunks. Last year we had the 3-center rotation with Alex Lynn and Robert Lopez and Gaff, but I think these 3 bigs together are a lot better than what we had last year. How do you see TB's minutes when he comes back? Rui's too.
Yeah, so last year's 3-man, center rotation was, kind of just how peculiar that season really was. But, this year it's, they have 3, starting quality centers almost at Wes Unseld Jr.'s disposal. And, he's a very much a basketball savant, always looking to, okay, how can I exploit my matchups the best, right? So it might not necessarily be a 3-man rotation at the center position every game. Maybe Trez needs a night off. Maybe he's not a good matchup defensively. Maybe Thomas Bryant can really stretch out the opponent's defense with his 3-point shooting ability. He was a 40% 3-point shooter before he got hurt last year. They really expected a lot of him within the organization. So I don't know how it's going to turn out minutes-wise. I think probably Wes Unseld Jr. probably doesn't even know how it's going to turn out minutes-wise. But I would be, unsurprised if it's something not like, okay, Gaff gets 20 minutes, Trez gets 20 minutes, Thomas Bryant gets 8 minutes. It's going to maybe fluctuate from game to game. Maybe it's 2 guys play. Maybe it's 3 guys play. I think that's something, we'll have to wait and see. With Rui, obviously his minutes, once he becomes fully healthy, fully back to the Rui Hachimura that, was dunking over Anthony Davis last year, he's going to demand minutes. He's a starting quality caliber player in the NBA. He started both his years so far with the Wizards. So someone's going to get squeezed out of the rotation. When the Wizards are fully healthy, that guy already seems to be a Corey Kispert who, isn't getting that many minutes over, say, Aaron Holiday. But Davis Bertans, as good of a game as he had against the Timberwolves last night, bouncing back from, 3+ week ankle sprain, which is pretty significant. If he doesn't keep putting those games together, could he potentially be squeezed out of the rotation? I'm sure that would delight, many of Wizards Twitter. But it will certainly be interesting between Rui, Deni, Kuz, and Bertans. You got a lot of players that play that, 3-4 position. Not all of them are going to get minutes when you only have 48 at each position.
Definitely, yeah.
And I'm glad you actually brought up Davis Bertans, because that is going to lead us into our next question. But first, I do have to get to a message from our friends over at Truebill. Is your ex still using your Netflix? That's what a woman found out after she downloaded Truebill, which finds and cancels subscriptions with just a tap. Truebill is the new app that helps you identify and stop paying for subscriptions you don't need, want, or simply forgot about. On average, people save up to $720 per year with Truebill. Because companies make subscriptions hard to cancel, Truebill makes it incredibly simple. Just link your accounts and Truebill will cancel your unwanted subscriptions in one tap. And your Truebill concierge is there when you need them to cancel unwanted subscriptions so you don't have to. Truebill has over 2 million users and helps save them over $100 million. Like Matthew, who says, in a matter of seconds, I saved $660 for the year on my DirecTV bill, saved $120 for the year on my SiriusXM bill, and saved $840 a year on car insurance. Don't fall for subscription scams. Start canceling today at truebill.com/lockedonnba. Go right now on truebill.com/lockedonnba. It could save you thousands a year. truebill.com/lockedonnba. Once again, guys, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen each and every day. So, Ed, Davis Bertans, let's get into it.
Yeah, Neil, how you feel about Davis, his season in general, and should he be? I mean, how long of a leash do you think Wes is going to give him? You know, you see Kemba Walker being put out of the rotation. You see Blake Griffin. There's some big names who are being sat down. So I just want to get your insight and your take on Davi so far, and his minutes going into the future.
Yeah, I think Davis Bertans, unfortunately for him, he gets, a lot of the brunt of Wizards Twitter, fury. We'll put it that way. I think he's been, unfortunately, had just had bad luck, past year plus, season plus. We're already a quarter into this season. Between, last year, he didn't play at all over the offseason because essentially he was a free agent. He couldn't afford getting a mysterious, stupid injury over the offseason. He got paid, then couldn't get back into the country in time because of COVID madness. Between COVID that he was out with protocols for, the calf injury, last season was a complete waste for him almost. This year, it's like, oh man, here we go again with this ankle sprain. We don't know how bad it was. West didn't necessarily say, okay, it was a grade 1, grade 2, grade 3, but the way he described it of how much it swelled up, he was out 3+ weeks. He's got to be a pretty nasty ankle sprain. That entire road trip, to me is a wash almost. Yes, he was 1 of 19 from 3. I think overall for the season before last night against the Timberwolves, he was 11 of 49. So to me, it's like that's not a huge sample size right now for a guy, still working his way back. For a guy who also has to reacclimate himself into a new offense, different from Scott Brooks' system that he's played in, the last couple years. So to me, with this time that Rui is still out, which could be, a month plus or minus, X amount of weeks, that's essentially the leash I have for him, right? Can he have more of the games like he did against the Timberwolves than the other games that he has the rest of the season? Because when he's hitting 3-point shots like that, it takes the Wizards offense to a whole nother level. The rest of the guys on the Wizards team is stinking it up from 3 as well. Brad included, Howell included. It's not pretty for them right now. So they definitely need Davis Bertans. And, regardless of his $80 million contract, they need him to play better for them to unlock that next level. So the leash I give him is, pretty long.
Definitely, yeah. I mean, yeah, we need that shooting bad. We need it bad.
Yeah, I mean, I've been hard on Bertans for a little while now, and it's. I think a lot of the issue is with majority people is, yes, like you said, a lot of people have been struggling, like Neto and Brad, etc. But they've been playing decent defense, and people see Davis Bertans, he'll miss a 3, then on the opposite end, he'll give up an and 1, and now people are just like, this guy don't play defense. He's not doing what he's paid to do on offense. What is he in the game for? He doesn't help us anywhere. But I mean, like you said, I mean, the Wizards are just holding on to the hope that he can return to form. Because like you said, it is very true. It's factual that with him shooting the ball well, it takes the Wizards offense to a new level, man. Defenses have to respect that, and that opens up looks for the other guys. I mean, hopefully the last night against the Timberwolves, it was a start of something good. You just got to keep it consistent and do it against the Cavaliers. But one other thing, Neil, that has been a topic of Wizards Twitter to say is Spencer Dinwiddie and Bradley Beal's chemistry together. People have been talking about it a lot. What is your evaluation of Dinwiddie's play so far and his chemistry with Beal? Do you know anything about his rehab process? Why do you think he hasn't been as aggressive when Beal plays as averse to when Bradley Beal hasn't played with him?
Yeah, and I think the 10-3 start that they had as a team, really raised expectations and the bar for this team, a lot. And I think that kind of did them a little bit of a disservice because at the end of the day, half of the roster is still turned over. They got 6+ guys in the rotation that weren't here last year. Whole new coaching staff, whole new philosophies, whole new plays that they're trying to implement. Training camp, you get, some of that stuff done. But Wes Unseld Jr. even explained, I'm bringing it along slowly. there's no reason for me to throw 100% of the book at them right now and for them to remember it, at, C-level quality. He wants them to learn the basics, and learn it at A quality, then implement some more stuff, learn it at A quality. That way by, say All-Star break time, they have a full, offensive playbook at their disposal and they know how to execute it well instead of just mudding it through all the way. So, obviously the numbers speak for themselves, the disparity between Spencer and Brad on the court versus only one of them on the court or only one of them, available for a game. I think a little bit of that is, Spencer doesn't want to step on other people's toes. All of the people and all of the pieces around here are legitimate players, between Dinwiddie, Beal, Trez, Kuzma. They got a lot of players, KCP, Gafford, he needs some every now and again. They got a lot of players who can contribute, a lot of people that need the ball. Dinwiddie's clearly, for the first 3 quarters, delegating a lot. Maybe he needs to do less of that. And that's something that, Wes has said that he's had conversations that, okay, in certain points you need to be more aggressive. But I think all of that will hopefully improve just as they get more reps and as they get more comfortability together. It's only a quarter of the season in, that seems like a lot percentage-wise, but 20 NBA games is, not a whole lot to get familiarized with people that you're playing with for the first time. So they still got to incorporate Rui, still got to incorporate Thomas Bryant. They might not hit their full gear until after the All-Star break. But, the Wizards' hope is that, hey, we're playing really good right now. We're doing decently in the positioning, seeding standings. Let's continue that all the way through and hit our stride going into the playoffs and see what we can do.
Yeah, and that's kind of where I feel with it. It's early. It's still early. Bradley Beal even said that they haven't even fully gotten Wes Unseld Jr.'s offense down pat. So it's not a surprise that him and Spencer with a full new roster, full new system, it's had, been a little iffy. Even Russ and Brad at the beginning, early stages, were struggling to get it together until they kind of clicked towards that later half. So, I still have hope. I think Dinwiddie, especially, the aggressiveness will come as well. And like you said, it's other guys. I think he's trying to find that balance of getting his while also trying to involve his other teammates and letting them eat. Because like you said, there's other legitimate guys on this team too who's trying to get touches. So definitely, I think it'll be all right. We're still early. Wizards are playing well, even with that connection not being 100% right now. But I think it'll be all right. And before we get to our next question, which is dealing with pace, I know Kyle Kuzma spoke about it and said it's, it's pretty bad right now. We do have a message from our friends over at Built Bar. This holiday season, grab the protein bar that tastes like a candy bar or even better than a candy bar. Built Bar filled with so much holiday goodness, rich with descendant flavor, covered in chocolate, but amazingly low in calories, sugar, net carbs, and fat, and in high protein. You get the best of both worlds, delicious and healthy. So many flavors you'll have a hard time choosing. Will you have raspberry or mint brownie, cherry, or double chocolate? Cookies and cream or peanut butter brownie? Built Bar gives you that extra fuel you need to bust down those mall doors and battle all the holiday shoppers. Or if you're just standing in endless shopping lines, Built Bar can give you that extra something to keep you going. So throw one in your jacket or purse. You never know when you're going to need it because it's the season of peace and love. Don't bring your favorite Built Bar flavor at family parties. People are so passionate about their favorite flavor, they'll fight for it and things get out of hand. You friends with Santa? Well, tell Santa to throw a few Built Bars in those stockings with so many flavors, they make anyone's Christmas morning a happy one. Want to cozy up with something warm? Here's a holiday secret. Dip your Built Bar into a piping hot cup of cocoa, let it melt a little, and give your beverage a bit of that Built Bar flavor. Plus, you'll have a nice melty Built Bar to go with it. Be sure to have a couple napkins on hand, like some of those marshmallowy treats around the holidays. You need to get your hands on Built Bar Puffs. They're light, fluffy, and marshmallowy through and through. Different flavors, all covered in chocolate. Taste so good, you won't believe that they're filled with protein. Go to Built.com, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at Built.com. So, Ed, I know we've seen Kyle Kuzma say the transition, and it sucks. The fast break points are bad. Ed, let's get into the next question.
Yeah, Kuz says Pace sucks. Transition sucks. Right now, we're ranked 27th in pace. We're ranked 27th in fast break points. You saw Kuz in the Spurs game run, and he's just looking around. He's like, what in the world's going on? Why aren't you guys running? So I just want to get your take on what do you think about the Wizards' offensive struggles? Like, why have they been struggling offensively? Do you think they should try to push the pace? Is that something that Wes Unseld Jr. Should try to instill?
Yeah, it's kind of funny because, for all of Scott Brooks' other flaws, pace was the one thing that, his team did well last year. Granted, that might have been the staple of the offense, which isn't super reliable, but, it's something that Wizards fans became familiar with. They were up and down the court, super fast. Ish Smith, Russell Westbrook, that's what they did. Yeah, Kuz is right and, refreshingly, truthful in everything that he says. So it was very interesting for him to say that. I think it's, TBD whether they necessarily, do that moving forward. But I think what's going to be interesting for, Wes is, previously he said, okay, we don't always want to run because if that's not necessarily the most efficient thing to do, then that's detrimental to us. His worry is that, they run, they push, they have a bad miss, and they're, flat-footed themselves getting back in transition defense where they still, tend to struggle a little bit. So I think they will try and, encourage more of it. I think most definitely, off those rebounds, like you said, Kuz is looking around sometimes like, Brad, why didn't you run in the corner? Like, come on, like this is easy opportunities for you sometimes. It's definitely something that they need to have a better mentality with. I think sometimes, that just goes into, the effort and the intensity is not necessarily there. So that certainly needs to be cleaned up. But I'm not necessarily saying that they need to, go back to, flying up and down the court like they were under Scott Brooks and, trying to do everything that way because, their defense is put at a disadvantage sometimes. Yeah,
and we look at it this way too. They've just been so bad from the three-point line. It's like they miss a lot of wide open threes. So, they just try to push. You got guys like Gaff who can run, Trez who can run. Trez is great at running. He gets open dunks. So it is definitely something to consider for the future with this offense.
Yeah, and I mean I've said it before. I mean they don't need to run like the Hornets, but I do want to see them pick it up a little bit. I think it'll help getting those easy buckets, getting those buckets in transition. And I mean us as Wizards fans were accustomed to it with Russ and then John, even Ish Smith. So I definitely do think they can pick up the pace. I would like to see that. Don't got to go crazy fast, but faster than they're doing now, I would say. But just the last question before we get to just keys to victories against the Cavs and the bold prediction, Neil. Your thoughts on Deni Avdija? I mean, he's having a all NBA defensive type season. I mean, what are your thoughts on his development? I mean, do you have a comparison for Deni? And what do you see in his game that you think he needs to improve on?
Yeah, and I don't like to give comparison to guys just because, especially for someone like Deni, because the Wizards hope that there is no comparison for him, right? They want him to be that all defensive level type of player, but also have 3-point shooting and playmaking and ball handling on the offensive end. The 3-point shooting hasn't necessarily come yet. When I'd spoken to one of his Maccabi coaches, Veljko Perovic, before last season, he admitted right away, 3-point shooting is not going to be very good the first season. He was only drafted, a year and a few weeks ago. So it's, somewhat tangible to have such high expectations for him. But like you said, defensively, he's, locking some guys up. I think the NBA is going to start to figure him out a little bit. I think, there's a stereotype very much about, oh, he's just a, tall, white European guy, not fast, we can get by him. And a lot of teams were going at him for that reason. But we'll see. Like, I think he's orchestrating more of the offense even more with the second unit, when Spencer Dinwiddie is in with them. He's handling the ball for them, at the beginning of their sets. So it will be very interesting to see, how he continues to progress. Obviously he's a workaholic. So, the Wizards only hope for, high expectations for him as he continues. I don't think he's even played, maybe 70 NBA regular season games so far. So still a lot to love and a lot to, look forward to with him.
Yeah, I do see a lot of people talking about, his left hand and saying he needs to work on his left hand. But one thing I do like about Deni offensively is it seems like he's more comfortable with shooting that three ball, and sometimes it may not go in, But, I like the willingness to continue to shoot it because eventually it'll start going in. I don't think he has bad form or anything. I think he has a pretty good form, looking shooting form. So, and defensively, he's been amazing. I knew he can use his length. He did it in Israel coming out. He's good at using his length, etc., and just going straight up with his hands. But, he's been amazing right now. And like you said, all the clamps and etc. Guys take note of that. You seen him with Jimmy Butler. Was talking to him a little bit. Guys are gonna start to try to go at him. They hear the chatter. They hear the talk. All these defensive rating and all that. They come into these games, and we'll see about that. So I'm just glad Deni is doing good defensively, and I hope he's up for the challenge because, like you said, guys will be coming for him. Definitely.
Yep.
Yeah, he's actually it's the penitentiary as everybody calls it. I mean, he's strapping up Brandon Ingram and Giannis. But before we let you go, what's your favorite Ludacris song? And are you going to the concert after? And of course, on a serious note, what's your keys to victory to beating the Cleveland Cavaliers tomorrow? And let's get a bold prediction too.
Man, all right. So definitely gonna stay there for the Ludacris post game concert. Daniel Gafford's a funny guy. He was like, "Yeah, my fiance say we're going, so we're definitely going." But he's also a Ludacris fan, so that should certainly be good. Best song? There are a lot of good ones. I'm a big fan of everything he does with the Fast and Furious franchise. So Act a Fool might be up there. Move. I don't know if this is PG-13 rated podcast, but I'm sure our listeners know that song. Right, definitely excited for that. For the game beforehand, obviously Cleveland is a team that, has done pretty well for themselves, a little bit surprisingly so early on this season. So the Wizards already saw them once, in Cleveland. Both times they're without Colin Sexton. But, they're still a very dangerous team. Evan Mobley, Jared Allen, they even got Lauri Markkanen, Bradley Beal's, good friend and, mentee Darius Garland. So they're certainly going to pose a challenge for the Wizards, but for a team that unfortunately is going to have 9 of their next 10 games after this one on the road, including a 6-game West Coast then New York road trip. They definitely need to get this one. Maybe the bold prediction this time will be that Spencer Dinwiddie has a great fabulous game. Playing alongside Bradley Beal. Maybe he goes for a solid 25 points and 10 assists. So maybe that'll be my bold prediction. I'm gonna have to tell Spencer that he can't make me look bad. So that'll be my hot take.
Right. I mean, the bad thing is that shouldn't be a bold prediction. It should be an everyday thing that Brad and Spencer are playing well. But it takes time to gel. Like Kuz said, Rome's not built in a day. It just takes 20 games to find your identity. But I like the bold prediction. I'll definitely tweet at you if it happens.
Appreciate it.
Definitely. And once again, now I want to thank you for coming on. Do you have anything you want to shout out?
Yeah, obviously, as you said in the beginning, you can find, some of my work at Hoop District, at Hoop_District on Twitter. I'm at Neil Dalal 96 on Twitter. So feel free to come follow us.
Yeah, definitely. Go follow Neil, guys. He reporter for the Wizards, post game, coach parsers, everything you need, Wizards content. Neil got you for sure. And guys, once again, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Wizards your first listen each and every day. Now for your second listen, Locked On Bets, your daily one-stop shop for all your gambling needs. Locked On Bets, hosted by your boy Q, with expert analysis and insight from Lee Sterling. Well, guys, I want to thank Neil once again for coming on. Hopefully, me and Ed will be back at you guys after Wizards W against the Cavaliers, man.
Yep. Thank you guys for listening. Have a good one. Hail to the Wizards and peace.